Well, a very good morning and welcome to this edition of the topical discussion. Yes, it's the political season, that time when everyone is nervous about what's happening. The events of last week are leaving quite a bit of a bitter aftertaste. Well, to some, it's bittersweet, but to others, it's very awful. You can't imagine what happened. What was initially meant to be a party primary turning into a bloody affair. While some people celebrate their victories, there are still quite a number of lingering questions that we'll be delving into during the course of the show. We'll be speaking to Honorable Theodore Sechikubo, one of the candidates who enjoyed a bit of spotlight but lost. Well, what's beneath his loss and how do we move from here? What is his next move? We'll be speaking to him. But above all, we also need to examine all the undertones in the NRM party primaries and what it speaks to the farce of democracy, party democracy in Uganda. Joining me this morning is Professor Rogers Bargayomwe. He is a don of political science at Kampala International University and a political analyst. Good to have you, Prof.
Pleasure having you, Simon. Good morning, our viewers.
Well, where do you start from if you are to analyze the NRM party primaries?
One, to start on a good note, I would say it was a mass election. Many people participated. A bit to the credit, but I would say credit of NRM, I would say it is more of qualitative. It is more of quantitative than qualitative. They looked at having as many people participate and even children, because we saw even underage people participate, but the quality was very poor display. And it has exposed the NRM, unfortunately. So
it takes away the notion that the popularity of NRM has faded. The numbers speak by themselves.
The numbers, of course, for the numbers they wanted to show as many, but of course now they discredited themselves because the numbers they are talking about are now people who are underage. Some of the people they let to participate are people below the age of 18, eligible to vote. So at one time, President Museveni had said that he could not be a candidate at 17. He could not vote when he was 17. And that is, I think, the early government used to criticize. But we've seen that his system, whereby these people went to the bush to overturn these irregularities, but we've seen irregularities at a more massive scale than the people they criticize. So that's why I said qualitatively it was a shame to the ruling party, but they had the masses.
Have you taken time to analyze the president's letter in the aftermath of this? Well, the president came out and said, I must condemn in the strongest terms what I started hearing in some areas where some unpatriotic actors are alleged to have committed the following mistakes: altering results, tampering with the registers, using violence, including some deaths apart from the injuries caused, and the use of money and materials to bribe voters. Doesn't this in a way cast the entire election as a sham?
Definitely, we've never seen such a sham election. On a personal note, I didn't want my children to watch news. Actually, there is a time this week I even took them away from the country, and I've restrained them from seeing such news because it is a shame, especially to our fathers, these people of NRM, the people would call historical, given that it's a foundation they took to change regimes. it was based on election malpractices, but they've far violated the same, and it is a shame to let young people see what is happening as if it is now a culture in the NRM to steal, to bribe, to be violent, to kill during elections. And this is because of a lot of commercialization. And even what the president is condemning, he has tolerated it at many scales and at many levels. That's why some people have taken it that he's just backing, because over and over time he has said the same, but there is no effort which has been shown either in the disciplinary processes of the NRM. It hasn't been shown that anyone can face any disciplinary because of such acts. So,
okay. Were the irregularities long coming? Did you see them, or they were eventual?
No, they were obvious. And the more they go on with this kind of election, they will increase on scale. Because to me, the evolution of the NRM has been that every time it has such elections, it sheds off the cream. Usually in NRM they have a cream, but the cream who oppose such acts, corruption, are always shed off in elections. So it is more that they are showing a culture that they condemn, or they don't want cream, and instead they are tolerating these kind of vices. Because basically, if you see the people who are being promoted, who are going through, who are being raised high in the ranks, are people who are the people who start these kind of behaviors. So it's as if NRM is tolerating these kind of behaviors, and it is showing a culture which is very terrible.
One of the fascinating features of this election was the huge turnover of the big names, the incumbents, whom we actually thought were very strong on the ground. Does it reveal anything to you?
It certainly does, because these people you feel were big are just a creation. And what happened is that the way the voters are coming, because the voters see what is happening on the national stage, and they've been seeing a lot of this money being shared, and the incumbents are being judged because they believe they have been given a lot of responsibility, and also they've been given a lot of resources. So the culture is not to look at what the people are doing in legislation, but the opportunities they have. So the masses wait to share this resource, and they want it in its extreme. So when they don't see it as much, they then crucify the people that be. And of course the biggest victims are the people who are like ministers, who have big positions in the government, because the assumption on ground is that they are looting, they have a lot of resources. So at this moment the electorate want it to be shared. And yes, it's been, because we've seen many people giving the resources and stuff.
So
like that.
is the incumbency a curse in Uganda?
Truly, the incumbency is becoming a curse, because, and there is a culture also which is like, you've had your chance, because generally the mindset of citizens is that people go to eat, not to serve. So basically when they've given you a chance to eat, however much you work or what they say, it is another person's chance to eat. Like was it Katorubama who said nange mumpengende? So it's a culture which has changed, that people see that everyone should share this national cake. So when you are an incumbent, they see you as very selfish, because they want that you give a chance. We saw in Intungam 25-year-old people being given a chance to also go and share the national cake. So it is a culture that this thing is not about. Actually, most of the Ugandans are convinced that it is no longer about service. And this is a bad precedent to the NRM, because it is shown that politics is no longer about service, it is about eating.
Do you see a possibility of the NRM, top organ, reining in on the chaos, on the disruptions, on the money, and other irregularities?
It cannot come in. I'll give you an instance whereby now the SEC is weakened to such attitudes. For example, I'll tell you one of the leaders, General Otafire, who was arrogant and said, you people, I go to work, if I don't give you money for me, I go to serve, you'll give me. Then people in his area disciplined him, he didn't come. So this time we've seen his culture change and he's talking of let us all go and share warrage in public. So it shows you that now these members of the SEC and the top leadership know also the language of the public, that actually they want handouts and nothing else. No service, that's why they will compromise on the service and do the handouts in form of these development parish models and stuff like that, because they are convinced what people want is a handout. The president had the time struggling to convince people, maybe in the Lango region and actually to tell them, you people, I want to do infrastructure. I want to do roads for you. I want to do hospitals. They told him, no, we want compensation. We want the handouts. So the language, so long as now the top leadership is also interested in keeping the power, they will do what the electorate wants, and they will give out handouts.
But for all the mess that played out, who does the buck stop with?
Definitely the buck would, the people to get embarrassed in this would be the NRM, especially the historical members and President Museveni.
I thought it's Tango Doi. It was Tango Doi's moment.
But who is Tango Doi in the history even of NRM formation? When did Tango Doi come in? So
Tanga is the chairman of the Electoral Commission.
He's the chairman of the Electoral Commission, but he's not even among the queue. He's not part of the historicals. So it is them to protect their legacy. Tango Doi is just also like an employee who wants his interest, and you know, he just crossed from Makerere University just recently. So it is them to protect their legacy, not to trust people like Tango Doi, who are actually, in a way, destroying their legacy. So it is the historical members of the NRM to come forward and protect their legacy, because history is going to judge them harshly.
Well, we want to connect to Zimbabwe, Rwemiyaga to be precise, where Honorable Theodore Sechikubo is, and we want to speak to him. Honorable, what a pleasure speaking to you this morning. As things turned out, you lost, but you have not congratulated General Ashande. Why are you such a sore loser?
Well, I'm hearing it from you, and indeed that's what was declared. But to correct the impression, I was leading up to around 9 p.m. And what happened in Rwemiyaga is not a loss. It is a grab, a power grab, an election grab that was orchestrated. Leave alone, don't look at Rashande. This was of high magnitude because it involved the military directly. The military was involved here. We had more than 30 drones. We had more than 30 double cabin pickups. We had the jet. We had the soldiers, the soldiers, the army. We had all the security operatives were in Rwemiyaga. Now what happened is that when I was clearly in the lead, all the sub-county registrars were rounded up with their results confiscated, and what they put out as the result was fraud, was a grab. And when I attempted to reach the district tally center, I was blocked. They put up roadblocks, they blocked me. But before even that, I'm lucky that I'm still alive. I'm supposed to have died. And in this, that's why I went to Kampala on the Wednesday. Because voting took place on Thursday. But on Wednesday, I went to all offices. From the office of the president, I went to the chairman's office, Chairman Dr. Tango Doi. We moved down together to the office of the Secretary General Todwong. And my message to them was, tomorrow I should be dead. They are killing me. And this is the third time attempt on my life. So whatever came out was a sham. Whatever came out, people's mandate was never reflected. And now when you tell me to congratulate Rwashani was just a face, but the real force behind was the military. And to me, my appeal really goes to the president. The president had sent the Inspector General of Police to Zimbabwe and met all Zimbabwe leaders. Now, at that meeting, the assurances from the president, you remember that was after the death of one Fred Sembusi, who was shot dead by Lieutenant Ziwa. And now the message of the president was, police surge has been deployed in Zimbabwe and in Remiaga. Number two, they had given us a regional police command at Zimbabwe to have Gomba, Zimbabwe together with Lyantonde, and enough personnel and manpower of police. And the message from the president was the police henceforth would take the lead and the army would just be a backup. But there wasn't even need for that. And what actually happened is that the army, the military took over. They took over, they commandeered the election, including General Rwashani himself, who was ransacking polling stations at Meru. He beat up the chairman of the village, who was with his people. Chairman Bifi was beaten up. After that, they grabbed the electoral materials, the election materials, moved to Kasusano, that is Kakombe. Again, he with his soldiers and the Nkoni squad beat up people at Kakombe. And at that point, when we went in to see what was all this happening, then the Lieutenant Ziwa emerged. He came, beat up everybody, shot at us again. And yet this is the Lieutenant Ziwa who on the 26th of June had killed Freddy Sembusi and injured me and one Moses Tibingana. So to me, from the word go, those of you who know President Museveni, how he never tolerates gun violence, but a Lieutenant Ziwa kills a person, kills Sembusi, and injures two, including an MP, and is left in command in Remiaga to continue shooting at us and causing mayhem and beating up people. This is a very surprise move. I don't know why the president chose to do that. You can't say the president wasn't aware. He must have been aware, because the president is the consumer of all information and intelligence in this country. So what happened in Remiaga on the 17th was a debacle of democracy, was a mockery. Indeed, if we had known that it would turn out like that, probably wouldn't have led out into brutalization. The final outcome was the grabbing of the people's mandate. And all along, Remiaga, including myself, we've been supporting the president. We supported the president, but the president shouldn't have done this to us. Who is in charge of this country? It went back to who is in charge of this country. If the Inspector General of Police tells us that the president
Honorable Sechikubo, isn't it far-fetched for you to drag the president into your mess? Yet, actually, Remiaga and Sechikubo have been synonymous with violence for all the time that you've been in politics.
You see, who is the cause of violence? Number two, who is in charge of the military? Who is in charge of the army? I mean, when the president can send the Inspector General of Police to Remiag, to Sembabuli, to meet all leaders, he took the initiative to do that. And that was after the suspension of the campaigns in Remiaga. That is after the death of Fred Sembusi. Now what we are talking about are real things. We are talking about facts. We are talking about the situation that took place. Now, why are you distancing the president from this? Because you all know the president is the commander-in-chief of the UPDF or of the armed forces. And if his officer, a lieutenant Ziwa, can kill and injure and remain in command. Don't forget, recently the president was very instrumental in having the UPDF amendment that allowed military tribunals. He was exactly talking about this. That was the sense we thought he meant, because he said the military shouldn't conduct and do violence and get away with it. You see, we've had it before. Some few years back, the military, the army men, killed the son of the LC3 chairman, Rukushuru, Mr. Karakuri. And a military tribunal sat in Zimbabwe to try him. Now, why are you saying this time round, when another military officer shoots dead Fred Sembusi, we shouldn't talk about the military, we shouldn't talk about the president? This was bigger than Russian. Russian had no such capacity, and indeed is incapable of having such a capacity. The president, being the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, below him he has the chief of defense forces, and they talk between themselves. So what happened this time round is between them. Now we should be told as what happened. Why could all this impunity take place? Why should murder take place? Why should the use of the gun take place? The gun, we have all known, is to protect people.
Honorable Sechikubo, there seem to be quite a number of interests in Zimbabwe. Whose interests is Rwashande representing? And who are you representing?
I think, no. To me, I think the party and the president, unfortunately, did not tell us that they no longer need us. Did not tell me that they no longer need me. But what do we see on the other side? We see many drones, more than 30 drones with covered number plates. We see more than 30 double cabin pickups. We see military vehicles in Remiaga. We see a military detachment set up at Kashunga purposely to execute this mission. And we see Mr. Toyota and one Nzeire in Remiaga. Toyota particularly was at Chera, took charge of Chera sub-county. He was there till the end. And he disorganized voting at Chera, where he was stationed. And we all know whom the military vehicles, the drones with the covered number plates, the double cabins with covered number plates, military operatives, uniformed army men, and we all know that those are part of the Mhozi, the chief of defense force. There is no doubt about that. And once you see Toyota, once you see Nzeire, once you see all those, and indeed they are sending a message, not only of themselves, but communicated from the chief of defense forces. And for us, it's not a crime to support the president. And if you may recall, there was a tug of war between those who said Mzee Tova Kumain and those of standby generators. And this was not in bad faith. We are not enemies. We are saying they are all NRM people. But who should come first? But when the president deliberately allows the chief of defense forces to deploy the military, to kill people with impunity, to shoot at us, I think that's where now I really have to bring in the president. He should have told us. He shouldn't have led us into believing that he was serious about his candidature, about peace, about the stability, about having Remy Yaga, Sembabule together for this time. Now, when you send the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Byakagaba, and he comes and assures everybody that continue, let's have the election, but the police henceforth is going to take lead. But what we see is the reverse. In fact, at some places, the police was running away, leaving the army to cause mayhem, to beat, to shoot, and that was happening in broad daylight. It was captured on the cameras and everybody saw it. So to me, it is very unfortunate.
Well, Honorable Sechuku, before I get back to Professor Rogers in the studio here, can we say that your fate is now done and dusted? You're done with Remy Yaga?
But who tells you that? I'm a political animal and I'm a leader. I've been a leader in Remy Yaga, but you don't just do that. If you don't need me, you don't think I shall be sitting on the veranda crying. Someone who is responsible for this must be held to account. What I'm telling you is that we have all along been diligently supporting the president. The president is for all of us. He shouldn't be partisan. He shouldn't be sided. And we've been supporting him because of that. We've been supporting the president because of that, because he had allowed unity in diversity. In our different in our different respects, he has accommodated us. Here, this Remy Yaga, it is at the border with Nyabushozi. But the president has been tolerant of us. But once you see a wave coming, a wave that is unprincipled, it certainly is a response from us. And now, for me, if you say my fate is sealed, no. I'm already finalizing on my petition. I would not allow the power grab. I'm already forwarding the petition, and I'm separately communicating to the president. I'm forwarding my inner feelings to the president. He should know we are not in here as a game. We participate because we believe the president has been there for all of us. But now at the last time, at the last minute, when he changes, when he exposes us, when he leaves us beaten, almost killed. Remember, that first incident, we got information, we informed the police. They took it for granted. Now, when it took place on the 26th, when Sembus was shot while on my chest, I went to Kampala. I had written to the IGP for security and protection, which he declined. I reminded him this last time on the 16th that tomorrow they are planning to shoot me dead in the Tare Center. Because Toyota was in the Tare Center, I was not supposed to appear in the Tare Center. I called the IGP, couldn't respond. I called his personal assistant, and the personal assistant told me that no, we have made arrangements. You work together with the RPC, contact the RPC, your safety is guaranteed. Nothing happened. My safety was never taken into account. That's why we were beaten. That's why we were shot at, and including shooting at my vehicle. For the third time. My vehicle has been shot at for the third time. And there are police references to that. So not only...
Honorable, I'm certainly getting back to you. I need to engage my analyst in the studio. How do we... Honorable, I'll certainly get back to you in a few. Prof, how do you weigh in on the pain that's coming out of Honorable Sechikubo, and what stands out is his cry to the president and the factor of the role of security in messing up the Remy Yaga primaries?
Yeah, it is very unfortunate because even the president's call was to remove the army security from this election and civilian. That has been his spirit. And true to that, that's why you saw the president try to bring in the IGP, because the IGP visited Remy Yaga to calm down the situation, because he had got intelligence information. The president tries hard, but in this case, he has been overpowered by his family. for us who are analysts, when we saw the President Museveni's brothers, I mean, the only sane thing President Museveni would have done was to restrain his brothers from even going to Remiyaga. The way he did in the case of Sodo and Kutesa's daughter. It is just when the family enters in, everything is a mess. We are seeing Ssekikubo cry. But you know, Honorable Ssekikubo is also close family. He is close to first family, and he has the president's ear. But talk of many Ugandans who are not even like Ssekikubo.
So does it bring out the irony that someone who is close to the corridors of power
the
is
fact
crying foul?
That he is crying, it shows you that there are even more people who were disenfranchised, people even who could not, even some who are intimidated to say, don't even participate in this election. Ssekikubo could go that far, and even some shootings of his supporters, because he has some connection, and we know Ssekikubo is also has got some privileges from that family. But now they are Ugandans who even, they would tell you, don't even think about this. So it is a
so
wake-up call.
You bring in this analogy, this theory that if Ssekikubo can cry,
if Ssekikubo can cry, if we could see all tears in Remiyaga, what of other constituencies where these people, most of the constituencies, they are not even known people? Do you get it? Where all the candidates don't have an ear of the president, because in Remiyaga the IGP visited. Now, does it mean that the NRM, these people who went to fight, do they expect an IGP to visit every constituency? How many constituencies do we have? We have over 500. Now, will the IGP visit each? Ssekikubo had this privilege, and Ssekikubo is a privilege.
Okay.
Even
Can we use the Ssekikubo scenario, the Remiyaga scenario, as a benchmark for whatever happened in the party primaries, or it would be just too overstretched?
No, it is a good model to expose what is going on in the country. That if it can happen in Remiyaga, where every eye was on it, that means there are people probably who have died, who were even stopped from participating in the exercise, but no one had their ear. Ssekikubo, who has an ear of the president who sent an IGP, and we see all this violence. That means if he was an ordinary person, he would be dead by now.
As we take a break, should the country be swept away by the NRM primaries, or these are just internal dynamics for the party?
It is a very big indicator that the country is going in the wrong direction, that the NRM has taken a wrong direction, and unless we have a conversation as a nation, we are yet to see more violence, more death. If it can be in their primaries, I even look at these other parties, why are they even still waiting to participate in such a sham exercise? I will tell you, a man who was managing Jotham, who was managing elections, spokesperson of elections, was crying foul. He's my OB and my colleague. He was like, I've never seen this. And I'm like, but you used to speak for this system. So if Ugandans don't come up and speak.
No, he never spoke for NRM EC. He spoke for the Independent Electoral Commission.
But it is more or less than the same, because when Ugandans were condemning the managers of elections in Uganda, he was defending election, because all these it's a culture of elections in Uganda, and the culture is created within the biggest and dominant political party.
Well, we'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll still be examining what exactly went wrong. Good morning.